Today, we're going to explore an ancient and, honestly, an incredibly practical way to train the mind. In Pali, the language of the earliest Buddhist texts, it's known as Cattaro Sammapadhaāna, or the Four Right Strivings. So let's dive in and see what this ancient wisdom can teach us about, well, becoming the master of our own minds.
To get us started, I want you to think about a simple question that really gets to the heart of this whole practice. Is your mind a chaotic jungle, all overgrown with tangled thoughts and random impulses? Or is it more like a carefully tended garden, where you're the one consciously deciding what grows there? This powerful metaphor, that's exactly what we'll be working with.
And this isn't just some poetic idea, right? It's a real, practical guide. The Four Right Strivings give us a timeless, systematic method for actively cultivating our inner world. It's all about taking on the role of the skillful gardener of our own mind.
What's so brilliant about this approach is its structure. The source texts lay out a really clear four-part strategy. And this isn't about wrestling your mind into submission with brute force. Not at all. Instead, it's all about applying intelligent, skillful effort to create lasting change.
So, what is this method exactly? Let's get right into the framework for tending your own mental garden. It's a beautifully simple four-step process that really anyone can start to use.
Here they are, in a nutshell. First, you prevent new weeds from ever sprouting. Second, you abandon the weeds that are already there. Third, you actively cultivate good seeds. And fourth, you maintain and nurture those good things as they grow. Prevent, abandon, cultivate, maintain. Simple, right?
Okay, let's break down that first step, prevention. The Pali text describes this as the effort for the non-arising of unarisen, unwholesome states. So what are these unwholesome states? Just think of them as the mental weeds, Things like anger, jealousy, or that feeling of dullness, states that just lead to agitation. This first striving is all about being a proactive mental gardener. It's the wisdom of not planting a weed in the first place.
Next up, abandoning. Of course, we're not perfect. And yeah, weeds are going to pop up sometimes. This second striving is the effort for the abandoning of arisen, unwholesome states. So when you notice a negative thought pattern or a harmful emotion has already sprouted, you don't ignore it or let it run wild. You mindfully and gently uproot it.
And now for the really creative part, cultivation. See, it's not enough just to pull weeds. A great gardener also plants flowers. This is the effort for the arising of unarisen, wholesome states. This is where we get to actively plant the seeds of good stuff, like kindness, compassion, clarity, and focus, right into our mind.
And finally, we have maintenance. The Pali word here is tithiya, which is all about stability and endurance. Once you've planted those good seeds and they've started to sprout, you can't just walk away. This fourth striving is that consistent, gentle effort of nurturing those positive qualities, giving them the water and sunlight they need to really flourish and become strong. So this four-step gardening plan is fantastic, but what kind of soil do we need for it? The source material makes it really clear that the foundation of this practice is just as important as the steps themselves.
To explain this foundation, the suttas give us this powerful analogy. They say that just as any heavy lifting or construction work needs solid earth to stand on, this whole practice of mental cultivation needs a solid foundation of virtue, or what you might call ethical conduct.
The Pali phrase is silam nisaya, sile patishtaya. It means being established in and relying upon sila, virtue. So the really crucial point here is that ethical living, acting with kindness and integrity, it isn't some separate moralistic goal. It is the fertile, stable ground that allows your mental garden to thrive. Without it, you're basically just trying to plant seeds in shifting sand.
So what happens when you practice these four strivings consistently on that firm ground of virtue? Well, the texts offer another beautiful analogy to describe the result. And it's not a struggle. It's a natural, powerful flow. The idea is that the practice builds this kind of unstoppable momentum, just like the great river Ganges, which flows naturally and inevitably eastwards, right towards the sea. Your mind starts to move in a clear, powerful direction, and you don't have to force it every single moment.
The first stage of this momentum is called Nippanani. This is where the mind begins to incline towards freedom, towards clarity. It's this subtle but definite shift in direction, kind of like the land just starting to tilt down towards a riverbed.
Then that inclination becomes a steady slope, Nibbana bono, The flow gets more consistent, more reliable. The path of wholesome thoughts is now the path of least resistance. It actually starts to feel more natural to be kind and clear than to be agitated.
And finally, the mind is nibbana pabharo. It is powerfully tending towards liberation. Now the current is strong, it's deep, and it's unwavering. The direction is set, and that journey to the sea becomes inevitable. It's just a brilliant illustration of how small, consistent efforts can build up over time.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about weeds and unwholesome states, but what does that actually mean in practice? Well, the source texts get very specific about the subtle mental patterns this practice is designed to uproot.
These are known as the 5 higher fetters, some of the most subtle and stubborn weeds in the garden. They include attachment to refined states of mind, both with form, ruparago, and without, aruparago. That subtle sense of self-importance or conceit, mano, and underlying mental restlessness, udhacham, and finally, the fundamental ignorance, avidya, of the way things really are. The 4 right strivings give us the exact toolkit we need for dealing with these deep-rooted patterns.
All right, so we've seen the framework, the foundation, and the powerful momentum this practice can create. So how do we bring this all together and make our mental garden a daily reality?
Ultimately, sammappadhāna isn't some mystical, far-off state. It is the art of conscious, skillful effort. It's a skill you can learn and practice. It's all about becoming an active, intelligent participant in shaping your own mind. It's about choosing to be the gardener, not just the jungle.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. You don't have to overhaul your entire inner world overnight. Just ask yourself, what is one small weed you can choose not to water today? What is one small seed of kindness or patience you can plant right now? What is one small thing you can do to tend your mental garden today?